Hello, lovely people. It's another impromptu live stream today because I have been tackling Y seams and I wanted to document the process as I continue working on this Lone Star ombre rainbow quilt top. And I have some crazy stuff going on with my family this afternoon, so I thought I would jump on now while I can and show you I've gotten better at Y seams, and I realized like how the big mistake that I made when I started that first Y seam in yesterday's live stream, and I still feel so stupid about how much I struggled through that Y seam. And I think part of me was because like I realize now when I started the Y seam, I think I just went in super confident and made a mistake from the very beginning that threw everything else off that I didn't realize. So, and the mistake that I made was when I sewed the first two seams together where the Y seam is supposed to go, I just sewed all the way to the edge of the fabric. Even though my seam allowance was right, I was not supposed to sew all the way to the edge. I was supposed to leave my 1/4 inch seam allowance on the other side as well for that third seam to go through. Anyways, so this morning I have been practicing my Y seams. I've gotten 4 done and I have 4 more to go for this quilt. So yeah, I thought I would jump on and do a live stream to show you how it makes sense in my brain to do a Y seam, and so hopefully it'll be helpful. Also, I wanted to mention that I have scheduled a live stream for tomorrow, so make sure your notifications are turned on for your subscription to my YouTube channel, like just by being a subscriber, not like a paid subscription or anything. But I scheduled that live stream for tomorrow. So my goal is that tonight I will finish completely piecing the quilt top and have it ready to start planning the quilting diagram, which I am so pumped about. So yeah, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Utah time, I'm going to be doing some drawing and free motion quilting schematic demonstrating. I'm super pumped about it. Like I feel like this whole saga of making this quilt has been leading up to actually quilting. So anyways, I'm super excited about that. So let me show you on the overhead what I have so far. Here we go. Okay, so I have cut the rest of my black fabric because if you remember yesterday, we just cut the one piece. So I have my 4 square pieces cut and pieced, and my Y seams are like looking great. And then I also have my half square triangle pieces that are the existing Y seams that I still need to do that are going to go in these spots here. So it's a little more fabric to tackle versus the ones that I did this morning, but that's okay. The cool thing about it is just how quickly things are going to come together with these last 4 Y seam pieces. So anyways, I am really excited. This is the home stretch of piecing this quilt, and again, like I've said before, the quilting is going to be the most fun part. Oh, another thing that I was going to tell y'all about that I decided with this quilt was even though this quilt is already pretty gigantic, I wanted to do something to really protect the corners of each of the stars. So when I was finished cutting my my black pieces, I also cut these long black strips. Now these are 4.5 inch strips, and I have plenty because this is the length of the fabric that I cut my 6 30-inch blocks out of. So this is, let's see, 180-inch strip of fabric. But what I'm planning to do with the 4.5-inch strip is I am also going to just add a little border around the entire edge of the quilt. So it's going to make this quilt even bigger. This quilt is already super huge. I haven't technically measured what it's going to be, but my intention for this was just to give the star motif just a little bit of breathing room on the quilt when it's finally done. Like, I just wanted to make sure that these stars were not going to get eaten up by the binding fabric at all. And so this 4.5-inch strip is just going to be that little extra margin to make sure that my points are perfect and beautiful, especially when I go to quilt this quilt. If I wanted to do like a 1/4-inch border on the outside, that's going to extend past my corners, my points. And so I want the quilting to not get cut off with that. So I have these 4.5-inch strips that I will piece on tonight, but we are going to tackle a Y seam here and get these pieces attached together. So I have my black. So as you can see here, this one's already pieced and this one's already pieced. So I want to walk you through the process that I have found works for me with sewing these Y seams together. So we're going to first start with the color. So I know that these are going to go together. And then here is my black piece that's going to go in between. Okay. So let's move over here. Oh, hi, Kim. Kim says, love how the black fabric makes the rainbow fabrics pop. Yes, thank you. Me too. Okay, so I have my 2 big chunks here, my 2 corners here. And when I pressed my big, like each of the 4 pieces together, I made sure to press the seams because I want the very center point to do kind of a circle with how the seams are pressed, and I hope it works. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I did like bite the bullet and just busted out my pins to pin this these pieces because they are quite long, but I did cut all of my fabric. Like sometimes people will cut their fabrics larger and then piece them and then trim off the excess. I didn't want to do that. I wanted like everything to be precise. And so like my half square triangle piece here that we're putting the Y seam in is just the right size. So I'm going to pin it, starting with pinning the edge, the 2 ends, and then in the middle as well, so that it kind of equalizes the pull so that, you know, things just stay lined up. So first thing I'm doing is pinning the bottom, like this is the very, very center of the quilt where the star is coming together. And I'm trying to be really super mindful about this because I really, really, really want these pieces to line up. Like I want it to come to a really nice 8-pointed star in the very center. So I am pinning right on my seam allowance on both sides. So I know where I need to start and where I need to cross over. And I think that will be great. Okay, and then I want my seams here to also line up. So I'm going to skip every other seam and just pin those seams together as well. And I'm using like actual piecing pins, not quilting pins. Quilting pins are much thicker and unnecessary. So I like the thinner shaft pins because then they don't put a gigantic hole into my fabric. You know what I mean? Like the way a big 2-inch quilting pin, the same type of pins that you would typically use to like baste your quilt to your leaders. Okay, so this edge is where my Y seams are going to line up. And this was the mistake that I made yesterday when we were trying to do Y seams. I sewed all the way to the edge of the first 2 fabrics of the Y seam. And then I was like trying to stretch them apart to try to get that black fabric in there. That's why it wasn't working. So I think part of it was overconfidence when I hadn't reviewed a Y seam. I just thought like, oh yeah, this is logical, when it wasn't logical. But then also making that mistake at the very beginning of the video threw everything off. So with this pin, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start my seam here where this pin goes. So I'm going 1/4 inch in from my edge, which really technically it's 5/16 of an inch because we've already talked about that. But for all intents and purposes, if you're making this quilt along with me, 1/4 inch is what it should be. So I'm going not only 1/4 inch in from my edge that I'm going to sew, but I'm also going 1/4 inch from this edge as well. And that's how I'll know how far I need to go. So I'll show you this closer on my quilting camera. Okay, let's make sure you can see me. All right, so I'm gonna move this over here now. And get this underneath. Okay, so for this first seam, this is where my Y seam is gonna come in, and this is the seam that I'm going to start sewing first. So when I sew this, I don't wanna come from off the edge of the fabric and on. I need to start right where that pin is coming out, okay? So I am going to actually start in front of it just a tad, and then I'm going to do a couple stitches, and then I'm going to back up to that pin, just like that. Okay, now I can pull that cute. See how skinny these pins are compared to my, let me show you my quilting pins. Do you see the difference in those? So I used to just always use quilting pins for literally everything, but now I'm like, you know, later in life, obviously, like now, I can see such a huge difference, and I don't want to leave gigantic holes in my fabric while I'm piecing it. So anyways, I'm going to put that in my pin cushion. Nola, hello, good morning. Yes, you made it to the live. Hopefully your notifications are turned on. Okay, so I'm gonna sew this down just a little bit, and then I'm gonna cut my thread because I wanna just show you what I mean. Okay, so do you see how now my seams can, oh, sorry, it's kind of blurry. There we go. See how my seams can open just a little bit, 1/4 inch? That's basically the point that I'm shooting for with my Y seam, where my Y seam is going to intersect with the 3 fabrics. Okay, so now I'm going to sew all the way down here. And again, I'm not stitching over my pins because I got a lot of work to do. I don't have time for a broken sewing machine. Oh, I'm sorry, it's getting blurrier. Let me see if I can adjust that. I was worried this was going to happen. Okay, I'm just going to finish. I'm going to finish sewing this seam, and then I will show you what it looks like. So now that I'm on the far edge of my fabric, this is where the point of the star comes together, like all of the points convene into this spot. And I'm going to make sure to go right through that little spot. Okay. Look at you pinning, no raw dogging the long seams. I know. I know, I got too paranoid. And it's just like, this is a lot to handle now. You know, it's getting big enough that, yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Can you see how awesome this bottom point looks? You see that bad boy? Look at that. Love it. Okay, so now let me show you the top one. So this is where the Y seam comes together. And again, notice how up here, see that? See how I've got a 1/4 inch right here? Okay, so now what we need to do, and I'm pinning this too. I'm pinning these because Mama don't got no time to be unstitching stuff. Okay, so now what I've learned is when I lay this down and I grab my Y seam piece here, so I'm going to find the appropriate corner that goes into that Y seam. Okay, so now I am lining up my fabric where, let me put a pin in this and I'll show you where it's going to go. So that, where that stitch is, where those line up, I'm putting my pin right there. So do you see that? Okay, so it's a 1/4 inch from both sides. So now my pin is there. Frogging, rip it, rip it. Not today. We're gonna do good today. No more unpicking today. I did do some unpicking this morning as I was continuing to figure this Y seam crap out. And now, no more unpicking. We're manifesting no more unpicking. Okay, so then I'm gonna stick my pin right in that little point where those line up together. And then this other side that I haven't yet sewn, that's the 3rd side of my Y seam that's going to come on this side of the black fabric. I'm just going to move that out of the way for now. And then with that pin lined up, I'm going to actually pin this all the way into place. And I'll show you what I mean. Let me do a couple so that I can hold it up. So I have found that I'll do one right in that exact point where the Y seams line up, and then about 1.5 inches away. And then I'm gonna grab my very other corner and pin that next, because I just want everything to line up from there. So I'm gonna, and this black satin fabric is it's not a little, it's a lot slippery. So that's also something that I just need to be very mindful of, and pinning is gonna be the thing that protects me from that. Okay. Okay, so I'm kind of pulling between these pins, and notice that my black fabric is like a little bit shorter and tighter, so that just means that I pinned it too far here. It really only needs to extend past my colored fabric by 1/4 inch. So it just meant that I was pinning it too far away. Okay, so now I'm gonna find the 2 middles and pin there. And don't worry, I will hold this up for you so you can see it better. Okay, and then between my 2 pins, I'm gonna find the center of that and pin it again. Okay, and then the other side, so my end pin and the center of my center pin. So effectively 25% away of the full seam. the total seam. I don't know why I'm trying to add more math than we already have in quilting. That's silly. Forgive me. Okay, so I'm just giving myself however much stability I feel like I need in order to feel comfortable and confident in sewing this seam. Okay, so let me hold this up for you so you can see what I've got going on pin-wise. Okay, so do you see that? So I've pinned, here's my edge, and then here's my Y seam. So let me show you up close what that looks like. Okay, so that pin right there is right into that armpit of the Y seam. Let me show you the back of it. Okay, so it's just right in there. See that? See my stitch coming down this way from right there? Okay. So now I'm ready to sew it. I'm gonna start at the Y seam edge of the seam. My camera, hang on really quick. So not to bore you with details of technical difficulties, but I had technical difficulties this morning, but I wanted really badly to be able to sew this for you. And I want you to be able to see it, obviously. So I need to, and obviously I didn't know that this was going to happen before I started streaming, or else I would have fixed it before I started streaming. So thanks for bearing with me, you guys. And obviously that's way too blurry. There we go. Okay, so I have a feeling that as I start sewing, it's gonna go blurry again, but we will do our best. And luckily, Andrew, who's the real brains of the operation, he's gonna look at my whole streaming setup tonight and just double check things to make sure that things are set. And also right before I started live streaming today, the app that I normally use had an update, of course. So anyways, hi Melanie, it's good to see you. Hi Nate, how are you? Awesome, thank you. Oh, okay, a couple of comments that I missed really quick. Judy said, happy to catch your live stream again. I spent a lot of, hi. Judy said, happy to catch your live stream again. I spent a lot of time watching your tutorials on graffiti quilting. You are a true artist and so grateful I found you. I'm learning so much. Oh, you are so sweet. Thank you. I really appreciate that a lot. Well, and also it's nice live streaming like this because if you're willing to hang out with me, I am so happy to teach you everything that I know. So thank you for being here and for hanging out and for bearing with me because technology is always evolving and doing crazy stuff. So thanks for bearing with me. But we are tackling this Y seam today. I'm proud of the Y seams that I've done so far. So I wanted to just get one single good Y seam on camera during a live stream to prove to everybody that I'm not an imposter and that I can in fact achieve a Y seam. So thank you for being here. Melanie said the phone actually made a sound this time. Yeah, yes, there's like a whole situation. So hopefully it doesn't get too blurry too quickly while I'm sewing these seams, but I will make sure that you get a good gander of the Y seam when it's finished. But so yeah, so I'm gonna move to the sewing machine camera. Hopefully it does not go blurry on us again. But I have a feeling it probably will because, you know, it did it once, it's gonna do it again. But okay, so notice under here, So that pin, right where that goes in, that's where I'm going to start stitching. And I'm doing my best to make sure that I'm not capturing any of the blue fabric underneath, okay? So see that right there? So my pin is right there. So I want to just stitch right in front of that pin where that pin is coming out. So for this first little spot, I will start in front of it and start stitching and then just back up into it. Okay, let me cut my thread and we can look at it closer and see. Okay, so see that? See how I'm off a little bit from right there? I really just want my stitch to be right in there. So that just means I got a little bit off. So I'm gonna try again before I do the whole seam. There we go. I hope that wasn't too far. Okay, so let's check that. And the camera is still clear and crisp, which is great. There we go. Okay, see that? See how that seam is just right there? That's gonna give me the bandwidth to rotate this edge right here, right over to that edge there. Okay, so before I do that, I'm gonna get this bad boy stitched down. Oh yeah, see how the camera likes to go blurry? Okay, so I'm just gonna go this far for now. And then I'm gonna leave this pinned because I can sew that later. I'm running out of time before my next commitment that I have to do. But with this last seam, I actually didn't have as much need for pinning, but I will still pin it just, you know, to be safe. Like I'm learning my lesson, like everybody. Okay, and then we will flip this over and look at the Y seam so I can show it to you. Okay, so now this seam here that I've started and that we're gonna finish later, now we need this black edge here to line up right here. Okay, see that? So those seams together, like so. And like so. Okay, so now I need to get this pink fabric out of the way. So I'm gonna pull that and it's gonna kind of make that dimple like that, just like we had with the blue. Like that. Okay, and now I'm gonna start right where we left off and make sure that I don't go too far because I don't want to accidentally snag that dimple of fabric because it is going to unfold and lay flat in a second. And again, I'm not gonna sew over my pins because I'm not an animal. Just kidding. Okay, so that's far enough for the time being. Let's see if we can see it underneath here. Okay. All right, let me hold it up to the main camera so that we can get a better view of it. Check that out. Yes, that is what I am talking about. Look at that. Let me show you that up close and personal. You see that? That is a nice Y seam. And we did it together. So anyways, this was a short live stream today, but this is proof, proof of skills. So I am going to finish this quilt top. I'm going to finish it. I'm so excited. I'm dying to get it loaded on the machine and start quilting it. So I have scheduled a live stream for tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. and assuming that all of my tech stuff gets figured out so that my friggin' camera doesn't go blurry while I'm sewing, because it used to not. Anyways, I'm going to figure all that stuff out tonight. I would love for you to join me for tomorrow's live stream at 10 a.m. Utah time, because we are going to talk about how to quilt the quilt, which is the most fun part. It's the whole point. It's everything has been leading up to the quilting. In my mind, that's what it's all about. The free motion quilting or the interpretive quilting, whatever. The stitches that you can see are what quilting is all about to me. So I'm super excited. I would love for you guys to hang out with me. Oh, Kim said it's probably black fabric making it go blurry. I think it actually has something to do with the stabilization of the camera. That, anyways, it's like a whole thing that I won't bore you with the nerdy details of. But yeah, Y seams, they're scary, but they don't have to be that scary. I feel like every time I make a quilt with Y seams, I have to relearn how to do Y seams, which is fine. You know, there ain't no shame in that. So yeah. All right, thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys tomorrow. One other thing I should say, if you're going to watch a live stream of mine, tomorrow's would be a great one, because I was thinking it could be kind of fun where I could show like 2 or 3 different motifs for each area, and then during the live stream put out like polls where people can vote on which motif they like the most, so that the quilt will end up being like a community quilted, conceptually quilted quilt. So that could be kind of fun. So yeah, anyways, okay, I have so much to get done today. Finishing piecing this quilt included. It's going to be awesome. And yeah, until next time, happy quilting. Okay, see you guys later.